Hello, this is Calvin's. Welcome back to part 2 of our POS system development. So you remember we had already designed the login form, as you can see it here, and we already done some coding for toggling in between showing and hiding of the password, all right? And then we were to do the login for authentication so that when somebody puts the username and password, then we can authenticate using this particular button. So let's see the code behind authentication. So when you look at this code, when we look at this first line here, this one is to declare a variable named sh, as you're able to see, right, of the type worksheet. So this is declaring a variable named sh of the type worksheet. So we have variable types. Worksheet is one of them. String, boolean. We have various data types. We will talk about that one later. So we are declaring this particular variable named sh of the type worksheet, right? So the second step here, second line, code line here, you can see we have set sh is equal to this workbook.sheets, then in bracket, then we have security. So this one here, it sets the variable sh to reference the worksheet named security, right, in the workbook to which the VBA code is attached, all right? So this one simply sets the variable sh to reference the worksheet named security, all right, which is in the workbook to which the VBA code is attached, right? I believe you have understood that. So then we have the third line here, this one here, this one here. So in the third line, it checks if the values in cell A2, if the values in cell A2 of the security sheet match the value in text box 1, right? And the value in text box 2 in a cell B2 matches the value in text box 2. So it's simply checking if the values are matching. The values in the cell A2 or range A2 of the sheet is matching the text box 1, and also value in the range B2 or cell B2 is matching the text box 2 value, right? So remember, this is the text box 2, this is text box 1. So this code here, this code here is checking if those values are matching. Here you can see this is the security sheet and this is the A2, this is the B2. So we are checking whether A2 here is actually matching what we have in in text box 1, and also what we have in text box 2 is the same as what we have in B2. So they should be matching for the authentication to be successful. Otherwise, if one if one case is not matching, then the authentication is not going to be successful, and you are not going to be able to log in to this particular system. All right. So if the conditions are true, the code inside the if block, you can see this code inside the if block, this one here. So if the conditions, the two conditions are true, all right, then the code inside the if block is going to be executed. But if the conditions are false, then the code inside the else block is going to be executed. So if either or both of the conditions are false, then the code inside the else block here is going to be executed. But if the two conditions, both of them are true, then the code inside here, okay, inside the if block here is going to be executed. All right. Okay, that one is okay. Then you can see we have a line here, this line here, this line of code here, right? It displays a message box indicating that the login was successful. Okay, all right. So there's going to be a message box that is going to be displayed indicating that the login is actually successful, and also mentioning the username. Remember, the username is put in text box 1, all right? So it's going to mention the username, which is in text box 1. So the text box 1.text is used to actually retrieve the text entered by the user in text box 1. So if it is admin, then that's going to be mentioned as you are logged in as admin. So whichever text is in text box 1 is going to be retrieved, and then it's going to be in that particular message box. All right. Then this sh.protect.password is equal to this one, password. So this line of code here, it protects the security sheet with the password indicated here. So this one can be anything you want. You can put your own password here. So it means this line of code simply protects the security sheet with password indicated here. This steps assumes that the sheet protection is necessary after a successful login. But if you don't want to protect your sheet after a successful login, there's no need of this line of code, all right? Okay, so that's the main use of that particular line of code. Then you can see we have another line of code here, application.visible is equal to true. This line of code makes the Excel application visible, all right? This line may be usable if the workbook was initially hidden, or if you want to show Excel after a successful login. So it means we are going to ensure that Excel, the workbook, is opened after the successful login. All right. Then there's another code here, unload me. Unload me. Okay, what is how do you explain that particular line of code? It unloads the user form or user interface. So like now we were having this form login, the login window where we were putting those credentials. So after successful login, that particular form is unloaded. That interface is unloaded, all right? This assumes that the code is part of the user form, and unloading it would likely indicate that the login process is complete, all right? Then now you can see we have another line of code here in the else block. So we have another line of code here. This one displays, it displays a message box showing that the login was not successful. So if the login conditions are not met, this message box is displayed, notifying the user that the entered username or password is incorrect, right? Then this line of code, text box 1 and text box 2, are simply to clear the contents of those text boxes so that they remain empty. All right. If the login is unsuccessful, so if the login is unsuccessful, then it will be, the two text boxes will be cleared for you to enter the right one. So I think I've explained all the lines. All right. So now, up to that particular point, I want us to have 1 minute, maybe 1 minute is just enough resting. Right now, we are through with the login implementation. So let us look at this button here. This button is to ensure that when we click on it, then we are going to exit our application, all right? We are going to close down everything. We are going to close down the system. We are going to close down the whole Excel application, right? So let us double click it so that we access the code area. So this one is the code area. We are supposed to put the code in between there. So let me put the code, right? So that is the code. That's the code. So you can see we have this whole block of code to be implemented. So the first line the first line there. You can see the first line here, this one here. This first line displays a message box, all right? It displays a message box with a question asking if the user is sure they want to exit, right? That is the meaning of this first line here. So we have prompt, right? Then the prompt is this message box here that is actually asking if the user is sure they want to exist, right? So this one we can even use another thing instead of prompt. You can use another variable. You can even say question, whichever variable you want to use. Let me just use prompt. There's no problem. So this is the prompt here. This is what the prompt is set to be this message box asking us if we are sure we want to exit, right? So at this point, there's going to be displaying of a message box, right? Okay. So you can see if prompt is VBS, then so this line of code here is we have a code block under if condition here. So this is the code block under if condition. So it means if the prompt is yes, all right. If you click yes, which is in that message box, if you click yes, then this particular code block is going to be implemented. Otherwise, we are not going to exit. Otherwise, we are not going to exit the system. So it means that uh, the VBS no, the VBS no constant specifies that the message box should have yes and no buttons, all right? So sometimes you'll see written as VB yes, no, okay? VBS no, so VBS no. So this VBS no is a constant which specifies that the message box should have yes and no buttons. So the result of the user's choice is stored in the variable prompt, right? There is the result of the user's choice is stored in the variable prompt. So this prompt is just a variable. So if your choice is yes, it will be stored there. If your choice is no, then it will be stored in the variable prompt. And the code blocks under the if and else conditions will actually be implemented. All right. So if prompt is yes, let's start with if prompt is yes. So if prompt is equal to VBS, then so this one, you can see this one here. Sorry, let me remove this one for the time being. So if prompt is equal to VBS, all right, then so this particular line of code checks if the user clicked yes in the message box. So what's going to happen if he clicks yes? So let's look at this line of code. So this line of code, the application.quit closes the Excel application. This command quits Excel, all right? So this one closes the Excel. So it means if you select yes in the message box, you click yes, then the application.quit will be executed. That means the Excel application will be quitted, right? So this command quits Excel. Then we have another line here, which will also be executed if you click yes. This line of code saves the workbook. So this ensures that any changes made to the workbook are saved before closing. So this one simply ensures that we save anything that we made as a change in our workbook will be saved when we are quitting, all right? So that is the meaning of the third of this particular line of code. Then we have another line of code here, this workbook.close. This one closes the workbook. It closes the workbook, all right? So this one closes the workbook. Then we have else. So this one is another condition. That means if you click nothing other than, okay, let me put it like this. If you clicked no, then else block is going to be executed. So this part is executed if the user clicked no in the message box. So it serves as a placeholder for any actions you might want to take if the user decides not to exit, right? So if you decide not to exit, then it will serve as a placeholder for any other actions you may want to take. Okay. All right. So it means you are not exiting. You have clicked no, you are not exiting. So any other action you might want to take will be given time. All right. So and if this one just ends the if the whole if conditions. All right. Then end sub ends the code block, implementation of the code block. So I believe I've explained the whole of this code, right? So you can also implement it somewhere, right? So let's come back to our user form. So with the look of things, this particular user form is almost complete. All right. So I want us to take a small break. We come back after some time. Now, we have already implemented the close or exit application. We have implemented the code, and now this the code, and we have explained that. All right. Okay. So now let us have another functionality here. We want to ensure that when this form loads, like for example, let me load the form. So that means loading. I've ran the code. Or I've loaded the form. Okay, so when this form loads, like now it has been loaded, then it means there's something that we want to be done. I want that when this form loads, right, then there's going to be a caption here. There's going to be a caption here. Instead of login window, there's going to be a caption right there, right? So for that, we double click the form itself, the control form. You double click on it like this. Then you are able to see that we are in the form click event. We are in the click event, but we want initialize event, right? So we can delete this one here so that we remain with this user form initialize event. So that means whenever we initialize our user form, then this code is going to run. This code is going to run. So the code I want, that is the code that I want us to run, all right? So let me explain this code. Right? So when you look at line 1, this part of code here, all right, it declares variable ws as worksheet and sets it to reference the sheet named POS, all right, in the workbook to which the VBA code is attached, which is this workbook, all right? So the WS here is just to declare a variable. It declares a variable WS as a worksheet, right? It declares this variable as a worksheet. And also it's setting the same variable to reference the sheet named POS, which is inside our workbook, which is this workbook, all right? Which is this workbook here. Yeah, this workbook, you can see. So that is to declare the variable WS as a worksheet. So this variable, you can use any letter you want. You can even say X, you can even say SH, you can, anything you want. So just to declare it as a worksheet. So this is data type, right? So we are setting it to reference the sheet named POS. We are setting it to reference the sheet named POS, which is within this workbook that we are using, which is the POS here, right? All right, so that is the meaning of this line of code, just to declare this variable WS as worksheet. And the worksheet is actually reference, it is referenced, this WS is a reference to this sheet named POS, which is within this workbook. So when you look at this line of code also, you can see we want to add a caption on the form. So me.caption, that one will add the caption that we want here onto the form. So let me say, for example, let me say that what we wanted on the caption there will be here. Let me write it here. Let me just write it here. G1. So G1, let me put something in G1. So like Kimaru point of not Kimaru point of sale, but Kimaru general, or Kimaru whatever you want, retail shop. Okay, so this value in G1, it is what we want to display as a caption on our user form. Okay, so that's why we are saying me.caption. So which means the caption on the form login, because we have double clicked this one here and we're using the initialize event. So it's the initialize event of the form. So now you can see we are having the caption on the form itself. So the caption we want to display is this one here. But this caption here, you can see we have put it in open and close inverted commas to ensure that it's actually a string. Okay, so now the shop, then we want the name of the shop. So this is shop, then the name of the shop should be here in this range, all right? So now let us have the range. We are having, you can see we are having WS here, and WS we know it is a sheet named POS. So the range is G. Which range have we used on that sheet? This range G1, it's on range G1. So you come back and put here G1. So this one should be range G1 because that value is what we want to put as the caption. So that range or that cell value within this particular within this particular worksheet is what we want to display. So because it is a string, you can see we have closed the string because we have the whole of this is a string, all right? It's a string. But what we have here, this one here is a value in a cell. So it can be a variable, right? It can be a variable. You can change it to whatever you want, right? You can change the range also if you want. So the whole of this is what's going to be displayed. So I want us to run the form and see what is going to take place. So we can run the form, all right? So if we run it like this, already we are going to see that the caption of the form is clearly now saying the shop is Kimaru Retail Shop. Okay, so that way when you are logging in, immediately this forms displays, we already known that the shop name where we're using this particular system is Kimaru Retail Shop. So it's a variable that you can change if you want. You can come back here and change this one, and the shop name will also change. For example, if I let me change it to something else, maybe we can say high-end retail shop. So even if you come back and run your form, the caption will also change. So high ends retail shop, high ends retail shop. So that is the caption of your form. So that's how you can make, or that's how you can display the caption on your user form, on your login form, so that whenever you are logging in, you already know where the system is being used, whichever shop, all right? Because this one is point of sale system. So the name of the shop or the name of the company should be displayed right there. So that one we put in the initialize event. So these are events. So we'll talk about them maybe later. All right. So this is the one which will display that particular caption. Okay. So up to there, we are almost done. We are almost done. But there are certain things that we can still do to our form. So we can also have, let us have another, I want us to have, another, label here. You can put it here. And this label, you can even, okay, let us delete this one. We just copy this one because already, this one's already, the focal already set. So we can even copy and use this one. So this one we can rename as change password. Change password. Change password. Change password. Okay, sorry, let me do it here. Okay, just okay, let me just, the width of this one is shorter, so we can add like that. We can even decrease that height like that. So this one is where if you click, you will change the password, right? So we can make it, okay, the font white is still okay, but let us have it as, where's the font properties? So here, can come here and then have it as, okay, we can have it a bold oblique, so that something that is utilized like that. Okay, let it not be bold, let it just be oblique, but not bold, right? Just like that. So when the user clicks here, we want the user to be directed to another form where you can change the password, right? So this one is a link to another form where you can change the password. So up to there, let us take a minute of rest. We come back just after 1 minute. All right. All right. One more thing. We want to ensure that when the user is putting in the credentials, is not able to just cancel this form using this close button here. So this, we want to disable this close button, right? So for that one, we can, okay, let us double click. Then we look for the form query event. We look for the form query event, all right? So the form query event, not form query, but close query. Sorry, query close event. Query close event. This query close event, that is where we are going to put our code that will ensure that we disable that close button that we have up there at the right up corner of our user form. So whenever a user clicks that close button, the form will not close. So the form can only close when you click exit button or close button, all right? So let us have this piece of code. That is the one we want to use to disable the close button. And you can see it very clearly, all right? So this is the code, all right? This is the code block. So this first line here, it actually checks whether whether the close mode is equal to VB form control menu. VB form control menu is a constant in VBA that represents closing the form or user interface through the form control menu. All right. So this one is just a constant in VBA that represents the closing the form or user interface through the form control menu. All right. Okay, so if the close mode, all right, if the close mode is equal to VB form control menu, then cancel is equal to true, right? What does it mean? Okay, what does that one mean? So cancel is equal to true. Actually, if the close mode matches VB form control menu, if the close mode matches the VB form control menu, then it sets the cancel parameter to true. The cancel parameter is commonly actually used in events like before close event of a user form. We'll talk about that one later. So when cancel is set to true, then it typically prevents the default action associated with the event from occurring, all right? So in context, if close mode is detected as closing via the form control menu, the code is preventing the default close action, effectively disabling the close button associated with that of the form control. Okay, so this one typically this one just disable the cancel button. This one disable the cancel button. All right, so if the close mode is equal to this one here, then cancel is equal to true, and cancel is equal to true. I've already said that if the close mode matches the VB form control menu, then it sets the cancel parameter to true, right? So this cancel parameter, when it's set to true, it actually prevents the before close event of a user form. When cancel is set to true, it typically prevents the default action associated with the event form, from occurring. All right. So it prevents the default. It prevents the default action, which is usually which will take place when you click that particular close button. So it will prevent that action associated with that one from occurring, and then it will never work. So for example, let us now run the form and see. If you run the form, you will realize that now you cannot cancel this form using this particular close button, because the cancel has been set to true. So, and I've said when it is set to true, then that one prevent the default action from occurring. So the default action cannot now occur because the cancel has been set to true. So it cannot occur. The default action, which is just clicking and closing, cannot now occur. So we are now sure we can only close using this particular close button. And when you close this one, again, you have closed the whole system. That's what we want. That's what you want. All right. So let me go back here and reset it. Okay. So that is the thing. That's how you can disable the close button for the login form, so that the login form is not just cancelled like any other form. It can only be cancelled when you through the close button or exit button. That one that one is allowed, but not through just cancelling using that close button. The default close has been disabled, right? So this is the code for disabling the default close button. So up to there, we can now look at how we can change the password, right? How we can change the password. So for that one, we need to create another form, just the way we created the first one. So we insert user form. So we now have two user forms. So this one, we can set this one to be, let it just be the same as the other one, 220. So this one the height can be 220, 220, right? That's okay, that's the height. 220, not 2200, 220, sorry. Then this one can be 300. Let us set it to be 300, the width. Then we can also set which property again. We can set the background color. Let us set the background color to be the same as the other one. This one here, right? That's the background color. Then now we can put the caption here. Let us just write the caption. instead of coding it like we did in the first form, our form login. So here we just put it as a change password, change password, change password. That one is password, change password, right? Change password. Okay. So here we need to put some controls. We need to put some controls. So we can, let us have the control or toolbox. Okay, sorry. Let us have our toolbox. But before we have the toolbox, we usually can Control C just to copy that one. Then you bring it here to make the work easier. So this one we can say username. Then here we can say new password. New password. Then let us copy this and this, like that. Then repeat new password. Re-enter, re-enter new password. Re-enter new password. So we want to re-enter our new password, right? So that we are going to confirm if they're actually matching, right? You can just arrange them to the form appears nicely. Okay, so okay, even this one we can just copy this one. We copy that. You can see how easy it is. Paste there. You can drag it, put it here. Then say submit, and say something like that. Submit. So this is the form that is required for changing the password. So we are coming back within some time, within some 3 minutes, to give the code that will be responsible for implementing this particular functionality. Okay, so stay tuned. So now let us rename our form, just like we renamed the login form here. We just renamed it from login. So let us name this form reset password. All right. So we come to the properties of the form, and we come here name. So form reset password. Okay. So that's the name. That's the code name of our form now. Not the code name, but our own renaming. All right. So when you look at our form login, this one we talked about this one as a link. So this one links us to this particular form. So because it links us to this particular form, let us have the code there to implement that particular linking. So we double click it. Then inside this, we write form. We say form reset password dot show. All right, form reset password dot show. So this line of code will actually open this particular form. It will call this particular form. All right, form reset password is the name of the form we want to call, and then show just to make it appear. Right, that is just to make it show up. So, but meanwhile, as it is showing up, we need the other form also to that particular interface to ensure that this form is hidden, right? So you can come and say form login dot hide, or instead of that you can also say unload me. It's still okay. So but let me say form login dot hide. So we just hiding this particular form. We're hiding this particular form, all right? So that means when we are going to click on this particular label, then that particular form is going to show up, and the form login itself will hide. All right. So that is what we mean. So let me try it out. Let me try it out. So when you click this one, you are able to see that when we are clicking on change password, you can see change password form is the one which is now showing up. The other form has gone into hiding. It has been hidden, right? So that is what I mean. So this one we can just cancel with this one because we didn't disable it. So we just cancel with that one. So let us go back to our VB environment area. So that is what will be implemented when we have this particular two lines of code. This first one will hide. So we first of all hide our form login, okay? Then we show the form reset password. So after showing that form reset password, then we need to have some codes behind this particular button here so that we ensure that the password has been changed as required. So how do we change the password? So now we must have a code that will implement that particular functionality. All right. So let me double click this one. Then in this particular sub, we need to put a code, right? So I've already written the code. It's there. So this code is the one which will actually implement that functionality of changing the password, right? So the first line is declaring this variable here as worksheet, right? Is declaring this variable as worksheet data type, right? Then it is setting this same variable to the sheet named security. This sheet that we have named security, which is actually in this workbook, all right? So it means whenever we want to refer to the sheet named security, we use sh because sh is referencing this sheet, okay? It's referencing this sheet named security, which is within this our workbook, right? So that is the meaning of these two lines of code, just to declare that variable sh as worksheet and declaring it to reference this particular sheet name which is within our workbook, all right? So now this third line here, this line here is just to unprotect our sheet because you can see sh, which we know has sh is referencing this particular sheet name security. So sh dot unprotect password, this property here dot unprotect password is just protecting the sheet, that is protecting and protecting the sheet if at all it is protected using a password. So this is the password to use to unprotect our sheet. So here you can put anything. You can say pass, you can say pass1, pass any password you need to use to unlock and to lock your sheet, put it here, right? That is the function of this line here, is just to unprotect your sheet before running or before changing the password, because you remember you cannot edit the password or you can not change the password when the sheet is locked. It will not work. The sheet must be unlocked so that you can do some editing or do some updating on that particular sheet. All right, so that's the function of this particular to unprotect. Then we have this line of code. So this a condition, all right? It is checking on something. So this one checks if the value in the text box 2, right? If the value in the text box 2, you can see the text box 2 is here. This is the text box 2. So it is checking if the value in the text box 2 and text box 3 are matching, all right? So if the two values, the one in text box 2 and the one in text box 3, if the two values are matching, then this code block is going to be implemented. This code block is going to be implemented if the two values are matching. If they are not matching, then this is the code block to implement, right? This is the code block to implement. So let me just take you back here. So let's say they are matching. So then we have this code block. So let me explain this line here. So if they are matching, then this value in the range B2, and we know what is in B2. If we check our security, B2 is here. This value in the B2, which is our password, because we want to change username. We are not changing. We are only changing the password. So this value in the B2, right? that value in the B2, but you need to, because the range is an object, so you need to it's an object in this particular sheet, which is declared as sh. Okay, if that value is matching what we have in text box 2, right, then we will have a message box popping up telling you that password changed successfully, right? So if the two values are matching, first of all, if this line we have said here, we have said that when the two are matching, text box 2 and text box 3, text box 2 and text box 3, text box 2 and text box 3, and you can see text box 2 is new password, text box 3 is re-entering the password. So if what you put here is the same as what you have put here, that means they are matching. All right, so if those two are matching, then it will check. Then what will now happen is that it will check, the code will check, this code here will check if the value in A2, sorry, there's something I passed, all right? You've realized that. So if these two are matching, then it will check if the values in A2 is the value in text box 1. So A2 here, A2, the value in A2, the value in our range A2, this value here in A2, if admin, the value in our A2 is the same value we have in text box 1, all right? Text box 1 is this one. So if you've put your username and this username is the same username we have in A2, then we say they are matching. Then it means this one here, right, will be the code will implement this particular line of code. So it means B2 must be equal to text box 2, right? So that means B2, the value in B2 will change based on the value we are putting in text box 2. Because remember, B2 is the password. And what is in text box 2? The user is changing the password and is writing a new password, all right? Because text box 1 is just the username. What we are putting in text box 2 is our new password. So if our new password we've written in text box 2, then it will be what we have in B2 will be edited, will be the same as what we are putting in text box 2, right? Then after, if at all that one has happened, then the message box will come and tell us password change successfully, right? And all the text boxes will be cleared, And then what will follow is that the password, the worksheet, or not worksheet, but our sheet which has been referenced as security will be protected again using the same password that we used to unlock it, right? And then the form will unload. And that's how you shall have changed your password. All right. But if this one here, if this one text box 2 and text box 3 are not the same, that is the new password and the re-entered password are not matching, all right, then it will tell you this one here. This one is what will be implemented. It will tell you that the passwords you typed do not match. Ensure they match. Then all the text boxes will clear, and the cursor will be placed in text box 1. The cursor will be placed in text box 1 so that you will start the process afresh. All right. So this else block will be implemented if this one is not matching. If text box 2 and text box 3 are not matching, then this one will be implemented. Okay, so if this one is not the case also, you can see we have two ifs. So if this one is not the case, if the value in A2, which is the where we have the username, is not the same as what this user is putting in the text box 1, if they are not matching, then this one is going to be implemented. All right, this one is going to be implemented, this else block of code here. Then it will tell you wrong username, all right? Wrong username. then we are going to clear all the text boxes and we are going to set the cursor in text box 1 so that you start the process afresh. Right? So these two ifs, we have if and else. Okay? If and if else, then end if, that one. That is the else and if for this particular if. Okay? Then for this if, we have its else here and its end if here.